Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
The Calgary Flames come back home after an interesting dad's road trip and come home to face a slumping Seattle Kraken squad, and they come away with 2 points, defeating the Kraken by a final score of 4-2. My name's Conrad Krausert. It's been a while, folks. Welcome back to Game Over Calgary. Thank you to Anand Unnithan for holding down the fort for the last week, but, you know, it's good to be back. And I think the Flames feel that way too, as they've been hot at the Saddle Dome, except, you know, when I go to attend the Calgary Flames take on the Red Wings, we can't win that one. But I digress. The Calgary Flames played what, by many metrics, is probably considered their most complete game of the season. They get to celebrate a couple milestones. And you know what? All around, a pretty good game for the Calgary Flames, even if you are on Team Tank, just like I am. They say that Gavin McKenna guy looked pretty good in pre-tournament action, and that's a guy who hasn't played since November. Anyways, hi, welcome to Game Over Calgary. We'll talk about the game that did get the Flames another win, another game where the Flames score 4 goals and manage to pick up the W. I think that's the 45th in a row. I wasn't listening to the radio commentary as the game wound down. It's not something that John Abbott necessarily mentions quite as much. But yeah, good performance from the Calgary Flames, and people will probably be detractors on Twitter and say, hey, the Flames, they were playing one of the worst teams in terms of recent record in the NHL tonight. And to that I say, you gotta play who the schedule says you gotta play. Nobody knew where the Flames or Seattle would be at this point. And hey, it always seems the Flames have struggles against a guy that I even forgot was in the league who played in this game, Jordan Eberle. So if we can pick up a win with Eberle across the ice, you know what? I'm not so unhappy. Let's head into our game recap. And as I said, it was a Flames-dominated first period, but there were no scores to talk about. Despite the worst penalty kill in the league, taking a couple penalties, including a delay of game to Adam Larson and a hooking call to Vince Dunn, Flames unable to capitalize despite the fact they fired 18 shots at the net that was manned today by Joey Decord. Did not get to see Grubauer, and I looked at this, and I know that Seattle isn't truly a, we've got a starter and then a backup, but to me, in my brain, even with how bad Philip Grubauer was last year, I still view Joey Decord as the backup, even though he likely is considered by most to be the starter for this Seattle Kraken squad. But I looked at this and said, oh no, it's another backup game coming into Calgary. Going to put on a Vezina winning performance, and we've seen this story before. But we know that wasn't the case. But through 20 minutes, it did seem to be that would be the case, that the Flames were going to get goalied. We were going to fire a million shots, and it was going to be Daryl Sutter era where we fire a bunch of shots, but none of them are from anywhere near scoring chances. And if you looked at Money Puck through the first 20 minutes, Flames only had one high danger scoring chance compared to 3 for Seattle. And Seattle only had 6 shots. Because, yeah, it was kind of one of those games where whenever the puck was in on Dustin Wolf in that first period, it was a high danger scoring chance, and Dustin Wolf had to stand on his head. Of course, you're a Flames fan, you're here. We all know that Dustin Wolf is an incredible goaltender, and you need him to be on nights like this where you are not giving away a ton of shots, which sometimes is a negative for a goaltender. But Dustin Wolf kept it open, or kept a blank on the score sheet, kept the Flames in it despite being, as I said, dominating the high danger chances. However, it didn't go the full game without getting scored on. Not a shutout for Dustin Wolf. not a clean sheet if we're going to talk about goals the way they do overseas. And it was a couple of mistakes from the Flames. Is I don't think you're going to blame Dustin Wolf on that first Chandler Stevenson goal. But you would have loved to certainly see Mackenzie Weegar close that space down. He comes out a little too far. Matt Coronado then doesn't get across to challenge the pass from Eli Tolvanen. And Chandler Stevenson makes a brilliant move. Like the forehand to backhand to elevated, even though it was around the pad of Dustin Wolf. It was really a great goal from Chandler Stevenson, his 8th of the year. Tolvanen 13th assist, and Frederick Gaudreau, the weird way to spell Gaudreau, gets his 4th assist of the year. And you know, it's like I kind of felt that when this goal went in at the 7:52 mark, I was just like, oh, we've seen this so many times where the Flames dominate 20 minutes and then the wind gets out of their sails and everything seems to be a calamity of errors. That Goofy falling down the hill, if we're going to go talk about Disney movies. We've seen it so many times as Flames fans. We've lived it more than once. And I thought we were going to see it again, but good on the Flames for not doing that. And speaking of leadership to get you out of that kind of catastrophe of feelings, Michael Backlund. There were some calls for this to be reviewed for a kicking motion. Doesn't end up getting challenged. And hey, it was a pretty sweet goal, if you get the meaning there, as Rasmus Andersson kind of was the one who drove this off the face-off, and he put it into the skates of Michael Backlund. That was Rasmus Andersson's 200th career assist as a Calgary Flame. I'm gonna go on a tangent here, folks, because as I said, kicked in goal. Who knows? Who knows what's a goal in this modern NHL? So you've seen a lot less challenges. Maybe that's the intention of not having the challenges be as black and white as most people think they should be. But, you know, let me go on my tangent here. There's been this hesitancy from the fan base to believe that the front office is going to move on from Rasmus Andersson. And I have to wonder if they wanted Rasmus to get to this 200 assists plateau before really starting to pick up on some of the trade talks, where that's with Toronto, who is the newly kind of hot team in the speculation, despite the fact that I don't think they have a ton of assets unless they want to get rid of Easton Cohen. And hey, with the way the Leafs have been playing right now, I don't necessarily think they're in a buying mode. Or whether that is Dallas, who has kind of still been in that mix, despite the fact that their cupboards are pretty bare too. Or whether you're gonna look at a team I'd love to see the Red Wings try and make a run at Rasmus Andersson, or Carolina, a team that has some assets and has intent to go further, but also the wheels could fall off and that could be a top 10 pick. But regardless, hey, I've also heard Montreal's kind of interested, so that's the team that interests me. And hey, we're going to have them come in January, and we'll probably have that conversation with Kay or Andrew, whoever is available that day. But regardless, I have to wonder if this is when the Rasmus Andersson trade talks kind of heat up for Craig Conroy and co. Just to sort of, you know, get him that 200th, get him that recognition. And I think I lost it. I had my X here, the Everything app, up earlier, and I saw a stat about Rasmus. I lost it. I think he might have been the 20th Swede, if I remember, to hit that mark of 200 assists. Something like that. I apologize. I had it and lost it. But yeah, great for Rasmus. And I'm just looking here. Wes Gilbertson tweeted out that Flames Rasmus Anderson has 3 primary assists tonight. And Danny Austin, love you, Danny, does great work. I missed him covering the Stampeders. But dating back a month to November 18th, only 2 defensemen around the NHL have more points than the 18 that Anderson has managed over that stretch. Rasmus Anderson has been the straw that stirred the drink for the Flames, and a lot of these comebacks, and I didn't want to give myself this kind of out. And I was talking with Denim Man about it before I went live. I'm starting to feel that we need to give Rasmus Anderson a contract extension. He's proving to be a leader. But at the same point in time, get your assets. Go get that bag. Go get your another shot at the Gavin McKenna lottery. Hey, if we have 3 firsts, maybe we can bundle them to someone who wins the draft lottery and doesn't actually need that pick necessarily as badly as the Flames feel we do. But that's all down the road. We can't re-sign Rasmus, no matter how much there is that serotonin button. Rasmus Anderson's playing really good. Let's keep him in Calgary. No, I need to get myself out of that frame of mind. But let's go back to the recap here, shall we, folks? And the Seattle Kraken, they do get another goal here in the period. John Beecher can't get the puck out on the penalty kill. Capo Caco kind of plays it through the middle. It deflects, it's Evans who's manning the point, deflects it off Capo Caco. Only his second goal of the year. I remember listening and thinking back to Capo Caco and thinking, oh, this guy's going to be a great NHLer back when he was with the Rangers, and that career is kind of sidelined since the injury or the trade out of New York in 2024-2025. I guess he was still a 30-point guy in 50 games with the Kraken last year, but to only be playing in 15 games this year with the Kraken, that'll be his 5th point of the year. Like it gotta be considered to be a struggle for Capo Caco. Assist to Evan and Neiman, power play goal, and I was kind of questioning what the Flames were doing here, because he also then had the Chandler Stephen penalty at the end of the period. And the Flames went 0 for 3 at this point on the power play against the worst penalty kill in the NHL. And I was starting to feel, again, like, oh boy, like, we know the power play for the Flames is not great. But they're trying something new. We can hope that we can improve with this new setup with Adam Klapka in front of the net. And despite how I feel that Adam Klapka is a 4th liner, and why do we need a 4th liner standing in front of the net on our power play number 1, regardless of how I feel, you have to hope that this would have put some momentum into your special teams. But it really did not feel that way. And I do have to say this about the power play that did lead to this goal. That goaltender interference when Joey Decord has his skate blades outside of the blue arc, out of the crease. Don't love that call. Goalies have the crease where they can't be touched. But as soon as they leave, they should be fair game. Like, they aren't untouchable. We don't want to turn this into where goaltenders are like quarterbacks in the NFL, and as soon as you touch them and they fall over, it's a call. It just, I don't know. I was a little bit frustrated at that call. And also frustrated just before the goal. The high stick missed. Just a little bit frustrating there at the end of the second. But we head into the third, and the Flames put it into overdrive against a team that seemed uninterested in playing hockey in the third period. Starts off with the Flames finally getting a power play marker. Good job by Matt Coronado holding the line. Eventually, Frost puts it back to the line, and Rasmus Anderson tees up Anand Kadri for an absolute laser beam. And it really wasn't a lot of traffic in front of that. You had kind of Coronado standing around the front. You had Huberdeau doing the flyby. So it was back to that more traditional Morgan Frost power play one rather than the Adam Klapka power play that I had just talked about. And that's what produced. So maybe you go back to what wasn't working. I don't know. Too early to say. Flames do, however, manage to get a power play goal against, as I said, the worst penalty kill in the league. They go 20%. Not the greatest, not the worst. Anyways, and then the best wrist shot in the league, Matt Coronado, after getting benched in the last Flames game, just reminds everybody this is the elite skill set he has. That release fools Joey Decord. And hey, Rasmus Andersson, another primary assist, as he said, 3 in the game. That was his 3rd. Great defensive play by Jonathan Huberdeau to even get the play going. And when Matt Coronado is confident and on, he is one of the best players on this roster. When he is disengaged like he was in the last game, I understand why he gets benched and doesn't necessarily play as many minutes. You're kind of hoping that Matt Coronado just finds an average and can stick to that. But I'm not going to debate. It's lovely seeing his wrist shot coming back. And then that was kind of it, kind of all, except a great shot block by Joel Farabee in the last minute of the game. Allows the captain, Michael Backlund, to win a foot race and put this one to sleep. As they say every game on both the radio and television broadcast, it is clear that Michael Backlund is not 100%. And he won't be, because I think he'll probably be... I don't know if he'll be getting the call from Team Sweden. He is a little bit of an elder statesman for that squad. But it's nice to see Michael go and get a 2-goal game and try and shake some of the haters off like me. But you know what? Good for the captain. Assist to Kadri and Farabee, and we have to hope that Joel Farabee doesn't have a hand injury or a lingering hand injury after blocking that shot. But you know what? Good for the captain. Good for the teams. If we want to go with some of the stats we always talk about, Flames dominate, double up the Kraken in the shots on goal department throughout the game, 46-23. And hey, what have I been harping on for the last 2 years with this Calgary Flames squad? Win some goddamn face-offs. And the Flames do manage to go 57.5% over the struggling Seattle Kraken. Would have loved to see the power play do a little bit better. 20%, probably around average where you should be if you're an NHL squad. Don't love seeing that the Kraken were 1 for 1 on their one opportunity. As I said, a pretty soft call. I thought the Flames were leading in hits for a lot of this game, but the Kraken end up coming away in the hits department, 24-22. Shots, blocks were even at 14 apiece. Flames did take advantage of giveaways and takeaways. 13 giveaways for the Kraken compared to the Flames 8, or actually they trailed in the takeaways department. Kraken coming away with 6, Flames only managing 4. Of course, this is the first of the season series against the Kraken, but it's not going to be super long until the Flames see the Seattle Kraken come back to Calgary. Of course, only the one game down to the Climate Pledge, and that's off in April. We'll see the Kraken again January 5th. So, that's your game recap with a little bit of a walkabout, we'll call it, talking about Rasmus Andersson. But we'll head on to period 2, and as I throw that period 2 graphic up, hopefully, there we go, it worked now. Hopefully, you're going to go down below this video, you're going to hit like, you're going to hit subscribe, you're going to go on to X, Blue Sky, Instagram, I guess. Go tell your friends to come and join us here on Game Over Calgary. Would love to get to see some more friends going in the chat, not just Denaman. And hey, if you're just watching, why don't you throw a comment in chat? We'll talk about whatever you want when we head into our overtime period. But we'll talk about the couple of Flames milestones. We talked about Rasmus's 200th assist a little bit longer in the breakdown than I wanted to. But congratulations to Rasmus Andersson for his 200th assist. And I think a milestone that a lot of Flames fans might sneer at a little bit, considering how much the contract is for this man. But Jonathan Huberdeau picks up his 800th point with a secondary assist. And I think people will kind of roll their eyes at that secondary assist. But this secondary assist, I think, kind of exemplifies the way that Jonathan Huberdeau has begun to play for this Calgary Flames squad. Beginning to actually play more of a defensive game. And Matt C., thank you for joining us in chat. Hard to get excited about this one. I actually disagree. But good job on Jonathan Huberdeau for actually developing his game, because I know it was Kelly Rudy who said this in jest initially, how Jonathan Huberdeau had gone from this big playmaker to a two-way power forward sort of deal. And I think that's really what Jonathan Huberdeau is becoming. Is he a two-way forward in the way that Jerome McGinley was? No. And I don't think there will be many players ever like Jerome McGinley in this league ever again. But for Jonathan Huberdeau to continue to try and find ways to be a useful player, if he isn't going to continue to be a productive player in this league, he'll have to evolve. And I think that is what we're seeing. Is it an elite level player that we're seeing that's deserving of a $10 million contract? I don't believe so. Is it a good player that is always going to have the stigma of the contract and always going to have memories of what he was in Florida? Yes. But that's just not what he is at this point. But the fact of the matter is, he's still a member of your team, and he is still much more positive than he has been. We aren't seeing his agent putting out scathing reviews of the coaching staff and how Huberdeau is being used. As well, Jonathan Huberdeau seems to love the Calgary community. Like, seems to be getting a lot more involved off the ice. Is he Michael Backlund levels? And shout out to Frida Backlund. Like, the city would not be as good of a place as it is without Frida. But yeah, it's tough. And you have to imagine Jonathan Huberdeau hears people like me, and as much as hockey players like to say, well, they don't listen to the media, they 100% do. And that added pressure that Jonathan Huberdeau has had to feel, I'm just happy for the dude to go and get his 800th points, and hey, continue the Flames hot streak at home. They talked about it lots on the broadcast. I'm happy that this team is starting to play more watchable hockey. I know Matt C. said it was hard to get excited about this one. I actually thought this was a great game from the Calgary Flames. Because we've had some snoozers in the recent history that the Flames have come away with. I'd argue that wasn't as exciting as the game against the Red Wings, that 3-goal attempted comeback. No. Was it the games that they played on the long road trip out east, including through Florida? No. Was it a better game and a better effort than we have seen out of the Calgary Flames for long stretches of this 2025-26 season? I would say so. And I think if we look at stuff like Money Puck, yeah, that continued. But we'll talk more about that when we go into period number 3. Because I said so. And as we head to period number 3, I'm going to ask you to head on over If you don't follow Game Over, our main channel, Game Over Network, here on YouTube, I'd love for you to go on over, hit that follow button. And if you head into like the, I think it's called the live tab when you go through YouTube, Denim Man helped me out. He was my cameraman, and we did a live broadcast of the Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association, Calgary Flair. It was their sole team, their highest level of hockey that they played. Their goalie, Kath Sano, stopped 50 shots at least in that game. Go out and give the broadcast that I did a little bit of a peep. Not asking to watch the whole 3-hour game, but go over, give it a little bit of a look. Shout out to Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association. They've been so good to us in allowing, number one, myself and Denim Man to go out and film and broadcast. And hey, even though I had to tether it to my phone, Dad, you didn't hear that. With our technical limitations and everything that we had to go through, it was so much fun. And it's a good workout for me to get back into calling hockey for the Circle K Classic. And that's also something we're going to talk about here in this intermission. The Calgary Flames do play 3 games between Boxing Day and New Year's. At this point, looking at these schedules for the Circle K between myself and Anand, we don't know how many of those Game Over Flames are going to be able to do. So I'm going to pose a little bit of a question here. So I know we got Matt C, and I'm sure Tokay will watch this later. And I'm going to post a poll up, I think, in our Discord. So if you're not part of our Discord, please go join. What would you like us to do? Because I don't think we can do post games. Maybe we can do a recap on, January 2nd. Talk about all 3 games. Do it sort of round table style between myself and Anand. Or we can just say, hey, you guys are busy. We understand as fans. I do feel bad about not being able to do the one on the 27th, but that is the first day of the Circle K. The hardest day when I'm trying to put out fires with technical difficulties at the Max Bell Arena, as there always is something. And I don't want to leave you guys without the Flames content that you love. So we'll leave that. If you head on over to our Discord, I'll start that poll up a little bit later. We'll figure that one out. But I really wanted to talk about the 4th line for the Calgary Flames. Because the Flames, if you weren't following today, put Driving Hunt on waivers. Hopefully he doesn't get claimed. He didn't look very good as an NHLer, in my opinion. But they recalled Costco, Justin Kirkland. Kirkland had, I think it was 14 points or 7 goals in the 14 games he's played with the Wranglers. So you have to think that he's going to rotate in. John Beecher has not been the answer, I think, that the Calgary Flames thought he would for the improvements on the 4th line. And his face-off percentage has been okay. What was he at today? I had that up earlier. In his 7 minutes and 50 seconds, he was 50% in the face-off dot. He's been okay. He's penalty kills, which is something that Justin Kirkland hasn't really done a ton of at the NHL level. But, it's we'll see. Am I okay with having 2 guys that are a little bit overage for what you want this Calgary Flames squad to be working in on that 4th line? I guess. Is it really where you want to be, rotating 2 guys that are on the wrong side of 27? Probably not. But at the same point, I'm okay with it. Like, if you're going to say, John, go have a couple of games off, or hey, we'll put you on the wing, and Ryan Lomberg, even though you've been playing great, go enjoy some of the Calgary Saddle Dome's finest popcorn in the rafters. Do what you got to do. Play around with that 4th line. Play around. And I got to say, it was a great game from Lomberg, and I thought he played well in the loss against San Jose as well. Obviously, he had that checking his watch Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. Thank you for all of your matches, John Cena. Also retired this weekend. Tangent. But I think you kind of have to start playing around with that fourth line and trying to see what fits. If that's load managing Ryan Lomberg, I don't know if you need to load manage the guy who's in the best shape on your Calgary Flames and needs to wear less shirts. I think I'm fine with that. Also, something I may be fine with a few times in the next few games is rotating in Yan Kuznetsov, or rotating out Yan Kuznetsov to give him a few games off. I think that might upset a segment of this Calgary Flames fan base. Because while I do believe that Yan Kuznetsov is an NHL level defenseman, we've started to see a little bit of the shine fade away from Yan Kuznetsov in the last few games. And I think that he's been fine. He hasn't been the dynamo that I saw in the first few games, and maybe that's him actually feeling like he doesn't just need to be a defensive stalwart. And maybe some of that is he's playing with Mackenzie Weegar, who's having one of the worst years in his career. But I don't know. I just feel like I want to see that shuffle around a little bit. Whether that means we see more of this free-form defense that we've seen Ryan Huska enable, where you're kind of just plucking Huster Brustevich and kind of putting him all over the place. Picasso, I like it. Whether that's playing Joel Hamley a few more minutes. I actually thought Joel Hamley had one of the better games of his career. And I know that Denim Man will probably be laughing at me from over in his room, knowing how much hate I've thrown in the direction of Joel Hamley in the last couple of weeks, months, this season, last season. He was fine. Oh, and big shout out, obviously. I am very harsh on Jake Bean, but it was announced today that Jake Bean will be going under the knife and proceeding surgery for what the Flames are really calling just a lower body injury. So hopefully, it really seemed like from what they were saying on the TV broadcast, it might be a season-ending injury for Jake Bean. So hopefully he recovers and hopefully can continue his career, whether that's with the Calgary Flames or elsewhere. But yeah, maybe it is time to kind of rotate some things and see what works on the back end. Continue to chat GPT that up. But let's head on into our overtime period, where I'll read some of the comments from people who are in and about chat. Matt C. Matt, I love you. I don't agree with what you said. It's hard to get excited about this one. At least Coronado scored, I guess. Yeah, thumbs up. M. Bison scored on you, to quote my friends over, I think that's Matchsticks and Gasoline, who tweet that out every time he scores. Because he does look like M. Bison. I have to scroll through all this garbage about the Los Angeles Rams, the second best team in Los Angeles. I said it. Can't even beat Seattle. Come on. Matt, your team tank. This kind of win is just annoying. You know, you're going to win some of these battles of the basement. And you have to remember, Seattle is a very, very broken team, both injuries and mentally, over the last little bit. Flames kind of had to win this one. I felt. But it's one of the ones where at least we have some milestones to celebrate. And hey, I think the wheels will fall off once again, because this is one of the weirdest seasons that anyone has seen in the NHL, with the amount of parity and the condensed schedule leading to these types of injuries that we've seen Seattle go through. And we all know that if you go on a 4-game win streak, you can go from the basement into the playoff hunt, and you can do the same going backwards. No, it's Sea of Red Central. I apologize. I was scrolling over here. Sea of Red Central, who calls Matt Coronado M. Bison. Any other real comments that I wanted to put some shine on? The Flames have a few players that seem to be either incredibly hot or cold, which makes me question Ryan Huska's coaching. What do I have to say about Ryan Huska? And what do I want to say that won't get me in trouble in general? I am starting to believe that Ryan Huska is giving more control to the guys on the bench around him. We're certainly hearing more about Trent Cull and allowing him to retool some of the power play, whether it works or not. Hey, we don't have the Troy Brouwer play anymore, so bad memories. But I think there is a lot of reasons to kind of think that Ryan Huska is starting to let these guys play in roles and lines that suit them a little bit more, and not necessarily just shaking things up for the sake of shaking things up. But I'm starting to believe a little bit more in the Ryan Huska extension. And the other thing is, hey, we can't lose in front of Tate McRae, guys. Like, let's get real. And obviously, she had her more famous brother next to her, Tucker McRae. I totally joke. I only call Tucker. I got to call Tucker McRae's games when he was out in Okotoks. I have a soft spot for the McRae family. Especially seeing Tucker next to her when they went on the broadcast. That was kind of cool. We're not going to lose in front of Tate McRae. Maybe the best thing to come out of Calgary for a long time. And I saw that Tate got a gift from the Calgary Flames that she was wearing over, I think it was a Matt Tkachuk Blasty jersey she had wearing walking in. So we had to cover that up. She had the oversized Flames hoodie, which I think is a very cool, hip thing for her to be wearing. And you know what? I'll take the McRae cam, kind of like the Swift cam whenever she's actually at the Dome. As long as we, as Flames fans, just keep watching. And that's where I'm going to end it, on a Tate McRae pun. Thank you so much for watching. Your Calgary Flames managed to continue to stay hot at home. And hey, it's nice to talk about a win from time to time. We will be back, and it will be me once again, I do believe. I'll pull up our actual schedule to tell you who will be hosting Game Over Calgary over the next few games. It's, Anand gave me a bit of a break, so I gotta return the favor. I do believe it will be me and Anand. Actually, yeah, it sounds like it'll be me and Anand for the next few streams, so get to hear the opinions of both your Game Over Calgary hosts. We got the Golden Knights coming in on Saturday, which might be a bit of a tough one. Hey, maybe that's where we see Devin Cooley once again, because it's been a bit since we've seen the Flames backup goaltender. And then it is that back-to-back with those dreaded Edmonton Oilers on the 23rd and 27th, respectively. Actually, I might have to tell Anand that he hosts alone on the 20th. I forgot I have a Christmas party. We'll see if I'm here for that game. Anyways, that's it. That's all. Let's throw a bow on this one. Return again. We'll see who's hosting when the Flames take on the Golden Knights on Saturday. Bye, everyone.